All right. Good evening, everybody. If you're starting to watch, we are just getting everything set up. I'm sure Del will be here soon.
Is that what you were barking? Is this?
Greetings, Del. How are you?
Hello.
Hello. How's it going today?
Good. How about you?
I'm good. We'll see if we get folks. See what's going on. I've got us. We're already live streaming on YouTube and Zoom. I've got somebody hanging out in the waiting room, which I'm ready to let in as soon as you're ready. But I thought I'd say hello to you first.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Good. Are we ready to roll?
Yeah.
All right, let's go live. Got a couple minutes before showtime.
No problem.
I don't know if I ever told you last week, the YouTube program got yanked before the end of the program, and yanked so completely that I could, like, there was no trace of it. They just completely removed it, and any history of it. And Facebook ended up had like 3 different copyright claims on that as well, and I think that got blocked too. So we do have a recording. We'll work with QATV and make sure it's available for on-demand viewing as soon as I can get the post-production up. But I have already posted on the YouTube and Facebook links the Zoom login for folks who, because I'm fairly confident we'll be able to keep this live, but we'll see how the others go today.
Yeah, sure. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
It's the man, you know?
Exactly.
You can't.
That's exactly right.
I mean, you can't. Yeah.
When the man is has robot overlords that do his, or robot henchmen, they're very hard to fight. So.
I wrote a blog post because I have this new blog on through this third-party service on religion.
Yep.
And it's on music and religion, and I'm on Twitter now, and so I've been tweeting my posts, and I got followed. But I wrote a blog post on George Michael.
Okay.
And I got followed by the George Michael bot.
Oh dear. So is it somebody? It's a bot that actually acts as if they are George Michael still?
No, I guess it's just maybe it's like a fan thing, but I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll hear some George Michael tonight. He certainly wrote some
actually,
songs.
I have one planned.
All right, cool. why don't I go ahead? It is 7 o'clock, and I know we've always got lots to listen to. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Okay.
I'm going to turn on our recording. I'm going to grab a spotlight for myself. There we go. And I believe I haven't, let me just do this really quick. Let me just pull up my live stream so I can watch anybody who's hanging out there.
Good.
Yep. There we are on YouTube. We'll have a few other folks come in the door as I do this. And Facebook. The My Wheels Are Turning soundtrack is always, I'm sure, loved by everyone. Let's see, where are the videos in here? There we go. Great. I just got to turn down the volume on all my streams so that I only hear it the first time. We're good to go. All right. So let me do my introduction. We'll get this kicked off, and then I'll pass it over to you, Del. Good evening, everybody. I'm Clayton Cheever, the Assistant Director at the Thomas Crane Public Library in Quincy, Massachusetts. I'm really glad you joined us tonight. We have a great program in store. This is a part of an ongoing series happening every Wednesday night in August. So far, we have talked about protest songs, we've talked about party music, and we're going to change it up a bit tonight and talk about love songs. Next week, when we get together, we're going to talk about dance songs, and there's definitely a fair amount of love and dance involved, as I'm sure Del will be telling us about. So it should be a lot of fun. For people that are joining us on YouTube or on Facebook, we have, as Del and I were discussing here in the pre-show, we've had some robots attacking us out there, fighting for the corporate overlords, trying to wield their copyright sword, even though, and with total disregard of fair use. That's my editorial comment on the activity there, but they've been making it so sometimes those streams get interrupted. I know that our YouTube stream was interrupted several times last week mid-program, and then it was finally cut and just taken off their platform altogether before the end of the night. So I've put the links for the Zoom stream into both of the chat streams in YouTube and Facebook. So if you're there and you have any problems, just follow that and come and join us over here in Zoom, and we'll keep the party going. There's lots of exciting stuff happening here at the library. I always like to give a little spiel here and encourage you to come back for some of the other programs. Tomorrow night, we have had an ongoing series of classes with a friend of mine named Colin, and Colin McCullough is his name, and he is doing a program tomorrow night. These are cooking classes he does from his tiny little kitchen. So if, I'm pretty much guaranteed any of you have a kitchen at least as big as his, if not bigger, and if he can do it, I'm sure you can too. The theme tomorrow night is super exciting. It is smoothies that taste like Girl Scout cookies. So if you've ever had a craving for a Girl Scout cookie and you can't get one because they're seasonal and you just can't get them most of the year, well, he's going to show you how he's figured out how to make them. He makes them actually healthy as well. It's pretty incredible. He's got some secret ingredients, and he's going to talk about how to get those ingredients, because some of them, to get the Girl Scout cookies flavor is just right, it takes a little bit of tweaking. He's quite the magician to get it. So I encourage you to join that. You can go and see all his previous programs that he's done for us on our YouTube channel. We've got a great program coming up next week with the Quincy Historical Society. They're going to be talking about the history of America and our experience with the yellow fever, tying together John Adams and Betty Davis, and just a long stretch of time there. There's going to be some clips there. Obviously, if you think Betty Davis, if you don't know who she is, you can go look her up. I hope you know who she is. There's going to be, it's just going to be a great program. That's next Monday night. We got a bunch of other stuff on the calendar. You don't need me to tell you about our calendar. I'm just trying to excite you so you can go out and look at it yourself. So much of what we do here is made possible because of the Friends of the Thomas Crane Library. The Friends operate our bookstore when we're able to have one, and they would be doing it now, except our building is still closed, as is the bookstore. But they're still supporting us. They're also membership-based, and they're dependent upon people like, I'm sure many people in our audience tonight, to be members. So if you'd like to become a uppercase friend of the library, please go out to thomascranelibrary.org/friends, and you can learn all about this great organization. And there's a link there. You can go online and make a contribution as little as $10 a year. Gives you that pride of belonging to that wonderful organization. So I encourage you to do that. And if you've already done it, I just want to say thank you. It's really wonderful to have your support. We really appreciate it. I'm sure I could talk lots more, but that's not why we're here. Let's listen to some tunes. Del, I'm going to pass the spotlight to you and turn off my mic.
Thanks a lot, Clayton. Hello, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining me. So if you've been at our previous couple sessions, they were really different. We started with protest music, and then we taught our political music or topical songs about issues that are happening in society today. And then we talked about party music, but kind of one of the themes that I brought to that talk was the fact that a lot of party music or music about parties is actually in some ways political, because when you think about what a party is it's almost like it's like a little slice of heaven. It's the idea of what's an ideal or utopian community or experience like, which is oftentimes, if you describe it, it's very different from the way the world is right now. For example, again, if you punch the clock 8 to 5 every day, and then you sing a song about what you really want to be doing Friday, you're basically saying, this is the kind of world I want to live and I want to have. And so there's an implicit sort of challenging of society in even a lot of songs that are about parties. Today we're going to talk about love songs. And look, were obviously a lot to choose from. I listened to every single love song for the last 80 years and chose the best. You're welcome. I do that work for you. No, I didn't, I have to admit. But I did have to admit, I did choose some love songs that did have some kind of, there were more maybe than just I love you kind of songs that have some kind of comment, some kind of depth to them. Again, I just chose 7 or 8 songs that I thought were really great. Not all of them are, political, and certainly none of them really are. But again, the idea is that, pop music, many people just think of as sort of throwaway, but it's not. It reflects so powerfully society. And frankly, pop music is one of the places where we've seen a lot of social, a lot of transformations to society happen before they happen anywhere else. For example, integration, racial integration, acceptance of homosexuality, openness towards sex in general, as opposed to just romance. There are just a lot of ways that pop music has been at the vanguard of changing society. And so I think we're going to see that too in some of the songs we look at. The other thing that was interesting is that I didn't choose mostly slow songs, because when you think of a love song, you tend to think of the ballad, right? So I tried to really make sure to pick songs that were not just slow songs that tell you, sort of express how much you love someone. I definitely picked some songs that were about losing love, but I also moved away sort of from the torch song and tried to find some songs that had a unique perspective, either musically or lyrically, on love. So again, I picked 7 or 8. I know there are a million other great ones, but I think the ones I picked are they're each cool for a particular reason. So I thought I would start with what the song is not really much more than just a silly, fun song, but it is a great song, and it is the Gershwin tune, Let's Call the Whole Thing Off. But again, this is a song that's not just I love you, like All the Things You Are or Till There Was You, right? Or Smoke It's in Your Eyes. This is a song that I like because it's basically about, well, if you don't know the song, it's about 2 people who, have some differences. In fact, as they start to talk to each other, they have more and more differences, and then they decide maybe we shouldn't do it, but then they decide maybe we should. So it's kind of about what love really is, but it's just a perfect pop song. It's so fun. I'm going to share my screen so you can see the lyrics. And I have chosen the song with the version with Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong, which, as far as I'm concerned, you just can't beat. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see the lyrics, and let's do it. Also, I really like that this version has the verse as opposed to just the song itself. So here we go.
Things have come to a pretty pass. Our romance is growing flat. For you like this and the other, while I go for this and that. Goodness knows what the end will be. Oh, I don't know where I'm at. It looks as if we two will never be one. Something must be done.
You say either, I say either. You say neither, and I say neither. either, and either, neither. Let's call the whole thing off. Yes, you like potato, and I like potato. You like tomato, I like tomato. Potato, potato, tomato, tomato. Let's call the whole thing off. But oh, if we call the whole thing off, then we must part. And oh, if we ever part, then that might break my heart. So if you like pajamas, I like pajamas. I'll wear pajamas, give up pajamas. For we know we need each other, so we better call it off. Oh, let's call the whole thing off. Yeah.
You say laughter and I say laughter. You say after and I say after. Laughter, laughter, after. Let's call the whole thing off. You like vanilla and I like vanilla. You sarsaparilla and I sarsaparilla. Vanilla, vanilla, or chocolate strawberry. Let's call the whole thing off. But oh, if we call the whole thing off, then we must part. And oh, if we ever part, then that might break my heart. So if you go for oysters and I go for oysters, I'll order oysters and cancel the oysters. For we know we need each other, so we better call the calling off. Let's call the whole thing off.
Yes, you say either,
And you say either,
you say neither,
and you say neither,
either,
either,
and either.
but neither.
Let's call the whole thing off. Oh yes, you like potato,
And you like potato,
you like tomato,
and you like tomato,
potato,
potato,
tomato.
tomato.
Let's call the whole thing off.
But oh, if we
Call the whole thing off,
then we must part. And oh, if we ever part, then that might break my heart.
Oh, so if you like pajamas,
Pajamas,
I'll wear pajamas.
you got pajamas.
For
We know we need each other, so we better call the calling off. Let's call the whole thing off. Let's call the whole thing off.
And I thought it's to put a smile on your face, I tell you. So, you know, when we listen to like a jazz tune or a jazz standard, it's weird because we actually have to listen sort of to two different kinds of ears. One of them is to listen for the song, which is really the ideas of the songwriter, the composer. It's how the lyrics fit with the melody and the form. Because of course, this song has been recorded by hundreds and hundreds of people, but still the same song. But we also can listen to the recording, the record, right? The actual interpretation. Now, it's much less common to have cover versions in pop or R&B or rock music. I mean, it happens, but not like here where you have hundreds of people recording the song. So I thought I would just make a couple of comments about the song, about the actual song, about George and Ira's song, and then a couple of comments about the performance or the record, if you will. First of all, I want to point out that this is it's a standard traditional pop song from the golden age of songwriting, which is in the form here would be what we call A-A-B-A. And the A part basically goes here, okay? You say blank, blah, 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 blah. And then the A gets repeated, which is the same melody when I say A, right? And again, but the words are different. And then you have a B section, which is a contrast here, but if we call the whole thing off. And then you return to the A section. And a lot of times the A section has what's called a refrain. And here it's let's call the whole thing off. And that refrain happens at the end of each A section. By the way, that's a different use of the word refrain than you might be used to, because to be technically speaking, this whole part of the song, once it gets rocking, is called the refrain. And this is called the verse in a lot of Broadway songs. And usually, often, this is cut, okay? This sort of exists to set up the song dramatically, especially if it's actually from a show. And then usually the song itself starts, boom, right there. So what's cool about the AABA form is that it's naturally it's very dramatic. It's not almost operatic, because basically the idea of AABA form is you've got sort of somebody says something, and then the same person usually repeats it with a slight variation, kind of intensifies it. And then the B section usually is a contrast. It's a commentary. Usually a lot of B sections start with but or however, or, usually but though. Harder to get, however's got too many syllables. And then you go back. So it's kind of like, here's something you're saying again, but then you come back, no worries. And that's what happens here. The problem here is we pronounce the words differently, right? And what's the solution? Well, this isn't going to work. And then, of course, another example, potato. Let's call the whole thing off. And then, but what's the other idea? If we call the whole thing off, we have to get a part. If we part, that'll break my heart. And then back, here's the so. It's thesis, antithesis, and then synthesis, right? Comes together. So it doesn't matter if we pronounce it differently, right? We know we love each other. And then what's so brilliant, we call the calling off. And that means that the whole thing ends with the literal same words. Let's call the whole thing off. But now the whole thing refers to the calling off. So it's a double negative here. It's a great example of how you use this. Again, we completely understand this refrain differently, even though it's literally the same words. So I think that's just so brilliant. I also like that this is not just, there's a subtext here, because if you look at sort of like what this song is about, it's either, right? Potato, tomato, but then it moves on to pajamas, right? Laughter and lofter. Here they do vanilla, right? Oysters. Let's be very clear. You got yourself some pajamas, some oyster, some laughter, right? We know where this song is happening, right? It's not legal seafood, right? It's after you get home from legal seafood takeout, right? I mean, they're in the bedroom, right? I mean, it's great how the examples that are used here, they're not just chosen as just because they're words. They're chosen because, they're not just examples because of the way the words sound, right? They're examples because they put you in a particular place, literal place where this song happens. And you realize that, look, they're already having oysters and pajamas. They're not really going to call the whole thing off. And so there's just these little things that are just, they're in the song. And if you think carefully, you realize that there's a lot more happening in this song than you might think. We really almost have like a little scene. Now, I also wanted there are a lot of versions of this song, but I love about this is, of course, you can't beat Ella and Louis Armstrong. And I love how they go back and forth. So she sings the what's called the verse, right? And then he jumps in with all of this, and then she jumps in here. And then, of course, later on, when they repeat this section, they sing it in harmony. So it's an example of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, just in the arrangement of the song. I love this because these guys are, I guess you could say they're engaged, right? Because the whole thing is, or maybe they're already married, but they're thinking of breaking it off, right? It's sort of hard to tell. It looks as if we two on every one. That could be literal, like we're never going to be married because we're engaged, or maybe we're married, but we don't like how our marriage is going. So I just love, there are not a lot of songs about marriage, actually, in pop music. And there are also not a lot of songs that are done as duets or about marriage. Like there are a lot of duet songs about love, but it's kind of cool how this is in this particular version. It's a duet song about, again, it could be marriage. At the very least, it's about a couple that already has a relationship. And it's not about sex, actually, though there's nothing wrong with that. But it's very real, I think, because if you've ever been in a relationship, sometimes you're both grumpy and a little thing sets you off, and you can say, well, let's call the whole thing off. How can I ever marry you? You say tomato. So I think it's a very realistic song, which, to be honest, it's not something you tend to look at for these great Broadway or, golden American songwriting songs. I like it. Now, I wanted to contrast that and compare it with a very different song. And I'm calling an audible here because I want to make this point. This is a song by Liz Phair, who is this is from a 90s, she's like a punk songwriter, who is really, really important. And I like her stuff a lot. But I play a song for my students all the time because it's another song that's about marriage, actually. So you probably don't know it, but I'm going to play this song for you again, calling audible. So give me a second here. Oops. And all right. So again, the idea here is that it's also, for me, very realistic, and it's about love. But again, it's about a couple of grown-ups talking about love, which I think is cool. It's not going to the chapel, going to get married. All right. So here it is. We're going to fast forward like 70 years at least.
And when I asked for a separate room, it was late at night, and we've been driving since noon. But if I'd known how that would sound to you, I would have stayed in your bed for the rest of my life, just to prove I was right, that it's harder to be friends than lovers, and you shouldn't try to mix the two. 'Cause if you do it and you're still unhappy, then you know that the problem is you. And it's true that I stole your lighter, and it's also true that I lost the map. But when you said that I wasn't worth talking to, I had to take your word on that. But if you'd known how that would sound to me, you would have taken it back and boxed it up and buried it in the ground. Boxed it up and buried it in the ground. Boxed it up and buried it in the ground. Burned it up and thrown it away. And you put in my hand a loaded gun and then told me not to fire it. When you did the things you said were up to me, and then accused me of trying to fuck it up. But you've never been a waste of my time. It's never been a drag. So take a deep breath and count back from 10, and maybe you'll be alright. And the license said you had to stick around until I was dead. But if you're tired of looking at my face, I guess I already am. But you've never been a waste of my time. It's never been a drag. So take a deep breath and count back from 10, and maybe you'll be alright.
So this is one of these songs that it's got a lot in it, and I just love it because it's called divorce song, right? But I kind of think that they're not going to get divorced because, they've been listening to their therapist. She says, take a deep breath, count back from 10. And I just love that this is also there's a lot of things I love about this song. One is that it seems very realistic to me. Part of the thing is that it really focuses, like a lot of great songs, on specific images, right? First of all, I always say start a song with "and." because you immediately are in it. Are immediately in the middle of a story, right? And again, they've been driving all night, right? They're tired, and we've been driving since noon. And she says the thing, and she didn't know that it would hurt you. And of course, but then she's going to prove that she was right, what she's about to say. So I would stay in your bed, paradoxically or ironically, just to prove, right, that's your fault, which is great, you know. And then of course you have this line, which is just classic. I mean, this is like a Confucian saying here. You know, it's harder to be friends than lovers. And you shouldn't try to mix the two, because if you do it and you're still happy, the problem is you. Basically, if you have a friend who's also your lover, right, and you're still unhappy, that's the best it can be, right? It's your problem. And then we move over. Look, yes, I took your lighter and I lost the map, but then here's where it gets serious, right? When you said I wasn't worth talking to, I had to take your word. Why? Because he knows her better than anybody, right? And then it switches around, and then she says, you know, you should have known. So what I also like about this song is that it's very equal. I mean, a lot of love songs are, let me tell you how I feel about you. A lot of breakup songs are, I love you, you don't love me. There are a lot of songs, especially by men, in which they're basically saying that you stink. Hey, woman, you stink. There were fewer songs by women, but basically I like songs where the other person in the song gets a voice, or at least gets a perspective. And here, you know, even though it's coming directly from the one singer's voice, she does admit that she's, you know, she admits that, you know, if I had known it would sound good, I wouldn't have said it, you know. And we sort of have the sort of equality here, right? They both have an opportunity to be represented here. And of course, this one, you put in my hands a little gun. Of course you did, right? You get to know someone very, very open, you know, as closely as a spouse, and of course they're going to draw on that ammunition. And then this one, probably the best love, you know, best or the funniest way of saying I love you in the world. You know, you've never been a waste of my time. You know, it's a low bar, but you know what? At a certain point, that's the best you can do. That's great. So I love this song. I mean, musically, it's really quite interesting. It starts with her being very blasé, but then by the time we get to you pin in my hand a loaded gun, her melody's going up and down. She really sounds much more sort of emotional, even within a punk context. So the song sort of moves on in intensity until the breakdown session at the end with the harmonica. And I kind of think that, like, that's where they fall into bed, actually, because you know the blues tends to signify sex. So you start to get a bluesy saxophone or harmonica in a song, especially in the bridge, and nothing has me. Oh, you know what's happening now, right? So I don't know. It's my story. I also love this line. The marriage license, right? It says you had to stick around until I was dead. You know, that's again a very cynical way of looking at marriage, but you know what? She turns it around and says, but if you're tired of looking at my face, I guess I already am. You know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. I mean, this could be set to music that's really dark and sad, but it's not. You know, the music keeps it sort of rocking. So just putting these two songs against each other as both sort of very realistic songs about, you know, either marriage or a serious relationship. I like it as a way of starting off talking about love songs, because a lot of love songs can be, you know, they can be very sort of mythical. They can be very sort of divorced from reality, which is fine. But I kind of like these songs because they both seem very sort of realistic to me.
Del, can I call an audible here? I just have to ask a question, interrupt you. Yeah. So I know that this is on the album Exile in Guyville, which a lot of people have said was kind of a love song, but also a song about a conflicted relationship with Exile on Main Street by the Stones. And it's a song by song response to Exile on Main Street. I'm not as familiar with Exile on Main Street. Do you know the relationship with this song?
I don't know. Maybe somebody does. I don't know. I actually know. I haven't really looked into that. But
okay.
I do know.
Homework for us to do later.
Yeah, seriously. Maybe there's a love song you know what? I'm glad you raised that, because I did know that, but I've never really listened closely enough to the two. So maybe someone probably knows.
Cool.
Anyway.
Sorry, just an aside. Back to the program.
Great. Now, so I was thinking that, you know, we start maybe with that, but I was thinking of then going back, and let's go to, I was thinking of doing some Ray Charles. And where are we? Okay, so This Little Girl of Mine, Ray Charles. Great. Gosh, I wish I knew the year, 56 maybe. Really, proto soul. And this is the reason why I want to play this song is because one of the themes I'm going to track today is the connection between love songs and gospel music. And I'm going to track it in two ways. One, within Black music, the connection of soul to R&B and funk and even hip hop to a certain extent to gospel. And on the flip side, in white pop music and even in country, the connection to a kind of mystical religious love, which I'll get to later. But I want to start with the song because it's fantastic if you don't know it. But what's important about this song is that it's actually a direct response, a very provocative response to or version of a gospel song, but a traditional spiritual, This Little Light of Mine. Now, if you don't know this song, I'm just going to play a version by Odetta, the great folk singer, which he's kind of trying to create sort of a sound of an a cappella, sort of like backwoods Baptist church. So I'm just going to play that in case you don't know this little Sunday school song. Here it is. I'll play it.
Light of mine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. May we know that together. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Mama, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, shine everywhere.
Covered by a million gospel singers, but it's actually an old spiritual. And the couple things about a spiritual or a gospel song is there are two things. First of all, there's call and response. So there's always some kind of a lead singer who in a Black church can be the specific singer, but also can be the minister or the pastor who basically can break into song at any point. And then that's the call, and the response is usually the congregation or the rest of the choir using some kind of stock response. And so call and response creates this really powerful sense of community, even in a recording. Most gospel songs today, many of them I should say, are trying to, even if they're studio recordings, are trying to create a sense of a live experience at church. The second thing is that, of course, the most important and powerful thing about the gospel tradition is the lead singer and the way they sing. And principally, it's the improvisation that happens in your voice when you sing. And especially you fill in these spaces with what called melisma, which is basically these sort of curly cues of melody. And those are very important because they signify a sense of being sort of inspired. And since they're advised, they really you would use this song or sing it in a church. And so it's really important as a gospel singer to be able to convince the congregation that you are sufficiently inspired. And so what we're going to find out, of course, is that all Black music, whether it's the blues or jazz or soul or hip hop, the vocal styles all come from gospel, and they come from the idea of to claim a song as your own. You have to have this kind of personal connection to the material that only comes about by a real authentic connection to the sort of the soul of the song. And so in gospel music, it's connection just to God and how you're feeling about that. And then in soul music, it's the connection to sort of feeling. So, but what we have here is, in the 1950s, we have Ray Charles, who was taking the spiritual and putting it to a rhythm and blues beat and changing the words. So it's not about this little light of mine. It's about this little girl of mine. Very, very provocative. So I'll play this for you. Now, as you listen, imagine you didn't speak English. You would have to think this was a gospel song. It's got all the things I mentioned, call and response, and that melismatic gospel vocal style.
Oh, well, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you know that this little girl of mine,
I want you people to know this little girl of mine. I take her everywhere we go. One day I looked at my suit was new. I looked at my shoes and they were too. And that's why I love the little girl of mine. Do you know that this little girl of mine makes me happy when I'm sad? This little girl of mine loves me even when I'm bad. She knows how to love me right down to a T. If she does any wrong, you know she keeps it from me. And that's why I love the little girl of mine. Do you know that this little girl of mine called me last night about 8? This little girl of mine told me that we had a date. She said that she'd meet me at 8:45. Believe it or not, but she was right on time. And that's why I love the little girl of mine. Do you know that this little girl of mine knows how to dress so neat? This little girl of mine stops the traffic on the street. When the fellas start whistling, well, I don't mind. I can't blame them because she is fine. That's why I love the little girl of mine. And that's why
if you've ever seen the film Ray, there's a great scene here where he's playing in a club with this, small rhythm blues band, and it's either this song or maybe I can't remember, maybe it's one of his other songs. And basically at a certain point, one of the musicians just stops and says, I can't do it. This is church music, because he's playing, the music is church music, but Ray Charles is singing this lascivious rhythm and blues, and he just leaves. And I show it in my class all the time. It's a dramatization, but basically that's kind of the response from a lot of folks in the 50s to what Ray Charles was doing. Because it wasn't just that he was, taking, he wasn't like Aretha Franklin, who would, she was well known as a gospel singer, and then she takes a gospel style and sings in a very sort of classy way love songs, right? That is not what Ray Charles is doing here, right? Not at all. He knows what he's doing. And so it's interesting how it's interesting how this song works. This song is it about what a nice personality she has? No, it is not. Okay. So let's see. She makes you happy when I'm sad. That's great. Fine. She just let me write down my teeth. That's dirty. Okay. She calls him at like 8 o'clock for a date. She calls him for a date. And it's a booty call, right? I'm not doing anything. Let's go out for a date. I'll see you in 45 minutes. And she's so fine, stop straight. I don't care. By the way, she does him wrong, right? Where's it go? She keeps it from me. This is maybe not the that his mama wants him to. Sorry, this is maybe not the woman his mama wants him to date. So we're challenging a lot of things here. Gender roles. We're challenging sort of the sexuality of sort of sexual roles again as well, not just gender. And it's all happening. And the reason why it works is because the musical style is very erotic. And when I say erotic, I mean connected to the body in a very sort of, this is a use of the word erotic, which is actually deeper. It's closer to the Greek eros, which is, the idea of passion, right, from the body and the bones. And erotic music doesn't have to be sexual. In fact, a significant difference, a massive difference between African-American spiritualities and African spirituality in particular, is that there's an engagement with the body. There's a belief that in order to really praise God, you got to dance. And to put it mildly, that is not a thing that the Puritans were into, and a lot of white Christians have been into historically. So it's weird that like the idea of this song being an up-tempo love song and singing about sex and using gospel music sounds weird unless you take a step back and you think that what a lot of what gospel is encouraging worshipers to feel the Spirit to such an extent that they move their body, they get sweaty, right? They spin around, they possibly speak in tongues, they jump, they fall over, they embrace their body, and they use their body to praise God. Look, in a Western Christian society based upon upon Plato. The body is sinful, right? It's separate from the soul, right? It's several emanations away from the soul, which is purity. So it doesn't fit for white people. But again, look, this song was very provocative. But the idea of gospel music as being connected to sex is not very crazy, because the same things happen in sex. You use your body, it feels sweat, it's stinky. I mean, no problem. So another thing I want to point out is that this song is not just provocative because it name checks a gospel song, but it's really problematic because of the chorus here. Because what we have here is essentially taking the call and response, which is sort of supposed to be like the call, the preacher says a truth and the congregation says amen. It's an affirmation. But of course, let's listen to what happens in the chorus here.
Oh yeah, do you know that this little girl of mine, I take her everywhere I go. One day I looked at my suit was new. I looked at my shoes and they were too, and that's why love the little girl.
Yeah, I know it says he's saying I, but he's really saying 4 times with a response. We all know what that is. I mean, he's imitating sex, right? I mean, of course. Listen to the call and response. It's not the saxophone saying amen.
My suit was new. I looked at my shoes and they were too, and that's why love the little girl of mine.
That's about the dirtiest song as you can get, and it's done to a gospel song. So, there are a lot of things to say here. I just wanted to point this out as an example of how maybe gospel and soul aren't quite so far away, but also an example of how this is a songwriter who is really trying to push the envelope and really be provocative. I can't, of course, fail to mention this is one of many songs in which we have sort of a guy talking about some nameless, faceless girl who's just hot and calls her a girl. Right, and basically she's he does say that she's nice, but really this is sort of his fantasy girl. And so the long tradition of songwriters, particularly describing the woman they love as a fantasy, and it's okay if that's how she really is, but you call her a little girl. That's she doesn't really get a chance to say what she thinks. So it's just it's Ray Charles. He does a lot of great stuff. But this is quite a provocative song. I thought I would do, in contrast to that, since we're staying in the 50s and 60s, I thought I would briefly play another song, and of course, it's one of the great love songs of all time, which is "Stand By Me" by Ben E. King. Now, I'm sure you all know this song. Actually, did I not get the lyrics? Hang on. Sorry, try this. So I wanted to play the song for 2 reasons. One, it's a great 60s love song, a soul love song, and it's a ballad. But because it's really about saying why he loves, this woman, right? Because, right, of what because she'll be with him, right? And it's not sexual at all. It's about, his belief in her faithfulness to him and the support that she brings to him. So just play, I'm sure you all know it, but just to give you a sense of the lyrics, again, no, it's a really serious song. It's a character study of this other woman, and of this woman. And again, what he is actually, commenting on is yes, it is what she can do for him, but he's really pointing to her real virtue of faithfulness and of the fact that she gives him this sort of sense of hope, right?
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me.
I just wanted to point out that you may say, you know, this is a soul song, but it's not gospel. Well, where's the gospel? It's right here. Melisma. Oh, stand. That's basically everyone in the audience, any black person would have heard that this is the gospel. And so is the grain of the voice here, the little grunt right there, which connects the voice to the body, and therefore makes us connecting to the gospel tradition, right? And again, you might think that when he grunts on "Darling," it's sexual. It could be, but it's not. It's erotic because it shows that he's not just thinking from his head; he's thinking from his heart, from his body, even. And again, that sort of signifies this kind of intensity and authenticity that really makes soul music work and R&B music work today. Let me play the next line and just notice the symbols used here. They're very biblical, right?
If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountain should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me.
Oh, I just want to mention that I get to go listen to "Twist and Shout" by the Isley Brothers, or I mean, even listen to "Shake It Up, Baby." I mean, this is actually, I mean, you could remix this song, and these vocals are not ballad song vocals, right? These are not, they're not even like torch song vocals. They're more intense. They have this grain in the voice. They're erotic in a way that makes the love sound even more powerful than just one that can exist in your mind. It exists in the body. Now, what's interesting about this song is that, it's a great love song. It's about darling, darling. But any African American who heard this song in the 60s would know what it's referencing, which is the great gospel classic "Stand By Me" by one of the great gospel, by Thomas A. Dorsey, one of the great, the originator of gospel music in the early 20th century, of urban gospel music. If you don't know the song, I'm going to play you a little version by the Staple Singers. Now, the words and the music are not similar, but the phrase "stand by me," everybody knows. And of course, everybody knows that who do you want to stand by you? Jesus, right? If you realize that, then you go back and look at this song and ask yourself, well, if everyone in the audience knew that "Stand By Me" was about Jesus and about the faith that Jesus would stand by you, why is this not? Like, convince me this is not a gospel song. The only thing that does it is "darling." Only the word "darling." If you look at it, look at the biblical imagery here. At the end of time, right? When the devil comes, right? Or who knows? In the apocalypse, I'm not going to cry. I'm not afraid because Jesus is my rock and my salvation, right? And there it is. But yeah, he puts "darling" in there because, you don't usually call Jesus darling. Okay. But I mean, look at this is the or gospel song. I've been buked and I've been scorned, but you know what? God's never left me. So, and this of course this is obviously, that's the resonance. Now, this is a love song, but it does exactly, it does the exact same thing that Ray Charles is doing, but it does it in a way that's acceptable to a church audience, right? That is respectful, because the secular theology of this song is the same. Yes, it's basically saying you are with me, and I know you're with me because I know Jesus is with me. It's the same kind of being with me. Now, yeah, it's not exactly the same. One's a son of God, one's a lady, but at the same time, there's a homology here, right? There's a connection. That's different from what Ray Charles is doing. So I'll just play a little bit of this version of of Stand By Me, actually by the Staple Singers, which is great.
Way in the storm, of life is raging, stand by me. When the storm of life is raging, stand by me. When this world is tossing me like a ship. Oh yeah.
So the lyrics are basically, I know you can't really understand her because of all the melisma, but it's when the storms of life are raging, stand by me, right? And that's basically it just continues on like that. When I'm being tossed on the sea, right? Stand by me. It's the same thing here. When the night has come, the land is dark, and the moon, right? I won't be afraid. So the message is the same, though the music is different. But again, this is I mean, no one would have missed this point at the time. So I thought I would move on to actually move ahead a little bit to actually no, we'll keep going chronologically because we're gonna come back to this idea of the connection of trying to describe love in the terms of love for a romantic love in the guise of spiritual love and vice versa, because the dominant way that pop songwriters, many pop songwriters, especially in the Black community, have viewed and described love that's been in the guise or using the language of spirituality. So let's do a song that sounds very different. Again, a great example of a fast love song. Again, a lot of fast dance songs about love are really about sex. So, but finding a song that's sort of not explicitly about sex, but it's fun and fast is a little bit harder. So what I thought I could do is, where did it go? Oh yeah, no, yeah. So I want to play "Signed, Sealed, Delivered" by Stevie Wonder. And so I want you to listen to this song, great funk song, right? I used to run a gospel choir, like, believe it or not, 15 years ago. About 80 students, you know, multicultural. We tour all over New England, part of the Wheaton College here in Quincy, where I live. And I actually almost did this song, but changed 2 words, right? Instead of "Here I am, baby," think about it as "Here I am, Jesus." It's kind of amazing how it works. It would have had to maybe change 1.5 other words. But this is a song that is an up-tempo gospel number in every way. In fact, even the use of the tambourine at the very beginning. You hear that tambourine is always been the symbolic instrument of gospel, even more than the organ. A lot of a cappella gospel song is just an old lady with an awesome hat and a tambourine, right? So this song starts with tambourine, and again, everything about this is a gospel song except for the fact that it's, you know, he's saying baby, basically. Okay, I mean, look at this. "You got my future in your hands." What is that referencing? He's got the whole world in his hands, right? The idea is that the world means nothing unless you're here, right? In which God redeems the world, right? "You would be my heart's only desire." This is a part of, you know, this is a part of the rosary. So it's amazing how, if you think about both the lyrics and the music, this is a straight up gospel song, and even with a tambourine, but, you know, it's about a lady. Okay. That was also just what a super great song. Of course, that's a straight gospel. If you've ever heard Little Richard, who of course is basically a secular gospel singer, or any gospel singer, that kind of vocal delivery is a straight up slain in the spirit gospel.
And that time I went and said goodbye. Now I'm back and not ashamed to cry. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. Here I am, baby. Oh, you got the future in your hands. Here I am, baby. You got the future in your hands. Hey, I've done a lot of foolish things that I really didn't mean. Yeah, didn't I? Oh, babe, seen a lot of things in this old world. When I touched them, there meant nothing, girl. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. I'm yours. Ooh, wait, baby, you set my soul on fire. That's why I know you're my only desire. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours.
Criminal stop that song, but we'll go on forever, and it kind of does. Again, look at all the language that's directly from the church, right? Even set my soul on fire, right? You know what this song is basically. This is not even New Testament. This is Old Testament. This is the Israelites saying, "Sorry, we forgot about you, God. We went and worshiped the other gods. Are we still your chosen people?" And yes, and obviously the music is God saying yes. You know, it's about crawling back on your hands and knees and saying, "I'm really sorry." In fact, the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible uses the metaphor of the whore, right, as representing the Israelites who keep going to other gods and coming back, and God keeps saying, "I'm still your God," right? And of course, Stevie Wonder knows this. So this is a song about redemption and reconciliation, and it's gospel. And again, it does call her girl, but you know what? It basically gives the power to her. You know, he's like, "Look, I'm sorry. I hope that you'll still take me. Here I am," basically throwing himself in her arms. And the music says, of course, she accepts him. So I like that even though he calls her girl, you know, clearly she's standing there, you know, and he's just begging, you know. And you know, it's a nice reversal. I mean, there are a lot of love songs about begging for your love, but this one is even more powerful because he basically says, I've strayed or I've done foolish things. And of course, the difference between a lot of love songs are about redemption. Even the divorce song we listened to is about basically, we've wronged each other. Is there going to be enough reconciliation so this can work? And it's a great example of a fast love song that's not about sex, because most fast love songs seems like are more about, they sort of mistake the eroticism of gospel for purely sex, but it's not. So we've got a few more songs to cover, and I was going to play a song, a different song. We're going to fast forward, 30 years or so. And this is, if I can find it, let's see. Where did it go? There we are. Okay, this is a really, really great pop song called I Need You by the country artist LeAnn Rimes. Now, she was a country singer. This ended up crossing over to the pop charts. And I just think it's a great, I think it's a great pop song, and it uses a lot of really nice metaphors. And I thought let me just play this. We could talk about it after I play some of it. You may remember this actually. It's a little on the 90s cheese side, but I think it's really great. It even has the little backup singers, but they're like white backup singers going na 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 na. That's it. All right. It's a little Weather Channel music for me, but smooth jazz. Go out with that.
The blessings life can bring, I've always needed something, but I've got all I want, and it comes along. loving you. You're my only reason. You're my only truth. I need you like water, like breath, like rain. I need you like mercy from heaven's gate. There's a freedom in your arms that carries me through. I need you. You're the hope that moves me to courage again. Oh yeah. You're the love that rescues me when the cold winter rage. And it's so amazing, 'cause that's just how you are. And I can't turn back now, 'cause you brought me to the need you like.
All right, I'm gonna stop that because you probably don't like it because it's a little much. I just want to point out this is a great example of how the verse of the song is really low, and then when she and its job of a verse of the song is usually sort of to set up the hook, right, which is sort of the emotional release, and it's a really standard strategy to have the verse sung very low, and then to have the chorus in the upper register of the voice. And she has such a great range; she can do this, and that really sets off the difference between verse and chorus, and it's really emotional. I think this song is great. I think it's a great song. I just think that the production is a little bit nuts, a little bit cheesy. But I wanted to point out these, the images here are very similar to what we saw in Stevie Wonder, right? Basically, you're all I need is you, right? You're the only reason, the only truth. I need you like water, like breath, like rain, right? It's freedom in your arms, right? Your hope that moves me. Love rescues me. Again, the idea of redemption. Okay. Again, let's go back to Benny King. When the cold winds rage, it's so amazing. It's just who you are. Basically, you're going to protect me, right? So it's the imagery is both literally quotes classic gospel songs and also is very consistent with this idea of we're describing romantic love in religious terms. Except this song is actually about Jesus. It's actually a Christian song from the miniseries Jesus from the early. And so this is actually a song that she wrote for this like miniseries. So this is not a song about a lover. This is actually a song about Jesus, which is interesting. So she's basically, the language she's using is, she's using romantic love language, which has already come from spiritual love language. We're back full circle here. And so again, believe it or not, it works, right? You're my only reason, my only truth. I need you like water, like breath, like rain, right? There's freedom in your arms. These are all biblical references here, right? The freedom in the love of Christ, okay? Even the idea amazing love, that references a great evangelical tune, amazing love. How can it be that, my love that you, my Lord, should have died for me, okay? Or amazing grace, right? There it is. If you're in the know, you know this is about Jesus, okay? So, yeah, here it goes, full circle. And there are you light up my life, Debbie Boone. Many people think that's about a guy. No, it's also about Jesus, okay? So they're surprising. It's really hard to tell sometimes, but it doesn't just mean, it's not just the people singing love songs in the same words that you might use for God or Jesus, but it flips around too. This is a pop hit. And it wasn't, I think it was a Christian hit as well, but it crossed over and no one was the wiser. Okay. So I think it's not the only song that does this. So go back and listen to it sometime, and it kind of makes me feel a little weird, to be honest, but you know what? If you go back 1,000 years and you read the writings of many of the wonderful mystics, the female mystics in the Catholic tradition, they are talking about a mystical union with Jesus Christ. Their souls come together. right? And there's been a lot of research and thought done about how obviously these women who have pledged themselves to a life of celibacy, who are imagining the ultimate union with Christ being in sort of in erotic terms. And again, this is way before the Puritans said this is a problem. And Catholics don't have nearly as much of a problem with saying that you can experience God through your body. Think about the stigmata, right? Or the emphasis even upon in the Station of the Cross and Jesus' physical suffering. It's really the Protestants that have a problem with the body. So again, the fact that this is like an evangelical Protestant song does make it kind of icky to me, because it's just really sounds like it's about a guy. I'm sorry. Anyway, moving on. So why don't we move to a couple more songs that we're going to move a little further away from this idea of but not too far from this idea of spirituality. I want to play a fantastic song by where did it go? Why can't? Yes. So by George Michael. So George Michael, who passed away a few years ago, fantastic pop singer, one of the most important public figures to come out as homosexual in the 90s. This is a song that he wrote about his lover who died of AIDS in the early 90s. And this song is called Jesus to a Child. It's a love song about this guy who's dead. But it's really, really interesting. In fact, I wrote a pretty long article about this that's actually on my blog, in which I discussed that I argue that George Michael's understanding of love is quite biblical. George Michael wasn't a religious man. In fact, he had really been damaged by a lot of Christians when he was growing up, just obviously the homophobic perspective. But this song is really pretty powerful. And I'll play some of it for you. It's got this wonderful sort of slow bossa nova beat, and the video is very sort of tastefully erotic. But the song is really about not how much George Michael loved Ensemble Falepa, his lover, but he describes the love that he got from his lover. And that kind of love is described as the kind of love Jesus showed to a child. And of course, that's not sexualized at all, obviously. So it's really interesting for a sort of someone who'd been hurt by the church to still look past the hypocrisy of Jesus's followers and to look at the Jesus of the Bible and to say the kind of love that I imagine the real Jesus showed to children is the kind of love that I experienced in the love of my gay lover. And this is a powerful political song, right? I mean, it really just throws down the gauntlet and says, okay, Christians, really? You're going to really argue with me here? So it's a pretty powerful song. If you don't know it, it's really one of the most amazing songs. I won't play all of it because it's kind of long. But again, it's not a song about how much George Michael loves his lover. It's not even about how much his lover loved him. It's really a song about love, right? It's about a kind of love which is very deep. Again, it's biblical because it's about a real kind of humble and sort of self-denying kind of love, when you humble yourself in order to come to the level of a child. It's really quite a remarkable song. again, we have, very sort of spiritual metaphors and images here, though it's perhaps more appropriate because it's about someone who's died. Again, it's pretty powerful that we still have a song from the early 2000s that's, that frankly about, again, a man who loves a man and talking about love in this very intimate, personal way, coming to you in a cold, cold night, kissing, right? But not meant to provoke, right? Of course, just a very open and very honest and authentic description in an intimate way of the man he misses. Again, I think this is particularly powerful because it takes the language and even the ideas of the Christianity that had damaged him so much, and damaged his lover ensemble so much, yet still sort of take it and redefine it, take it back, right? Punch through the hypocrisy and describe the love of this man in the way that Jesus would have loved children: humble, not self-serving, transformative. So really a remarkable song for its time, and also just as a statement about what love, is and can be. I thought I would finish by playing. We really haven't had too many songs about losing your love, and I think we're gonna have to play a couple, because a lot of the great songs are about when you've lost your love. This is sort of my transition song. I wanted to try. I think I can squeeze in a couple of 2 or 3 songs. I'm going to focus on some singer-songwriters here. I want to look at Dar Williams, who is one of my favorite songwriters. And this song, February, is great. It's a narrative, so it's a story song, and it has a lot of sort of folk or singer-songwriter songs. It's really about grown-ups, not kids. It's a wonderful, wonderful song. It's heartbreaking, but I love that it uses a story, and I love the metaphor that it uses of February. And she's from Massachusetts, and I think it's a fantastically constructed song, and I like that it tells a whole love story. It doesn't tell it from beginning to end, but it gives you, it's sort of like a slideshow, right, where it gives you 3 or 4 different scenes in order. And you deduce it. She never tells you exactly what happens, but you don't even need to know exactly what happens, but you really know what happened on a deep level. And so just as a kind of a song, it shows much more than it tells, and we fill in the blanks. So I'm going to play this whole song just because it's a story, and I'll make a couple of points.
In the water, I looked back, they'd frozen halfway down in the ice. They froze up so quickly, the keys and their owners, even after the anger it all turned silent and the everyday turned solitary. So we came to February. First we forgot where we'd planted those bulbs last year, and then we forgot that we'd planted it all. Then we forgot what plants are altogether, and I blamed you for my freezing and forgetting, and the nights were long and cold and scary. Can we live through February? Christmas was a long red glare, shut up like a warning. We gave presents without cards, and then the snow came. We were always out shoveling, and we dropped to sleep exhausted, and we wake up and it's snowy. drifted into March and found us walking a path alone together. You stopped and pointed and you said, "That's a crocus." And I said, "What's a crocus?" And you said, "It's a flower." I tried to remember, but I said, "What's a flower?" You said, "I still love you."
Okay, I'm going to stop the song there because I wish the song ended there. So, if you're, of course, this song uses the metaphor of February being a really long month. It's really cold, right? And of course, I love how this song starts with, again, I threw your keys in the water, they froze it. We immediately know where they are. They're outside in a specific place, right? And why do you throw the person's keys, the lover's keys in the water, right? So what does that mean? So they can't. Well, it's hard to tell. Is it a car keys? We're going to find out that it's actually the keys to the house, right? And then the idea is, as February goes on, we forget that we planted bulbs, then we planted even what plants were, right? Can we live through February? Of course, it's not just February. It's literally February, but it's also this couple, like in this house, and their love is freezing. It's dying, right? Right? Christmas. After Christmas, it's so long. We all know January and February. And then February is so long, it lasts into March, then walking a path alone together. Great image. And then you said that's a crocus, and she can't remember. And then he just says, "I still love you," right? Wonderful. Except.
The leaves were turning as we drove to the hardware store. My new lover made me keys to the house. And when we got home, well, we just started chopping wood. 'Cause you never know how next year will be. And we'll gather all our arms can carry. I have lost to February.
I just wish this is the word that gets me, right? Man, I wish it wasn't her new lover. I wish it was just her lover. I wish she was, sorry I threw the keys in the pond. But no, she has a new lover, right? And now they're facing another February, but they're chopping wood, right? They're trying to do it different this time. Like she's trying to do it. She's trying to, because what is wood? Of course, it's going to give you heat. It's going to give fire and warmth. It's what she didn't do right the last time. Okay. But the song still ends with, "I lost to February. I lost last time." Right. So I guess maybe it's hopeful, but this is just such a sad song for me, just because it just seems so cold and the cello gets me every time. I just love the specific images. We've all been there. We've all gone for a winter walk, and man, February is long. So I just think it's just a great song about losing love, but it's also a song about it just describes love in these very specific instances, descriptions, these pictures, these snapshots. So I thought I'd finish by what I think is really just a perfect song. It's very short. It's by one of my all-time favorite songwriters called the Weepies. Not super well known, but it's a husband and wife team. And this is just a very short song. It's gorgeous. And I could talk about the song for like an hour. But this is one of these songs where, it's just, she's gone, right? It's the guy singing and she's gone. But I wanted to point out a couple of things about why this song is so great. And so I'm gonna play it all the way through once, because it's like 2 minutes long. And then I'll go back and I'll mention a couple of things that I think make it so extraordinary. Also it's just very beautiful.
Woke up and wish that I was dead, with an aching in my head. I lay motionless in bed. I thought of you and where you're gone. Let the world spin madly on. And everything that I said I'd do, like make the world brand new and take the time for you. I just got lost and slept right through the dawn, and the world spins madly on. The whole world is moving and I'm standing still. I woke up, wished that I was dead, with an aching in my head. I lay motionless in bed. The night is here, the day is gone, and the world spins madly on. I thought of you, and where you're gone, and the world spins madly on. And the world spins madly on. And the world spins madly on.
So a couple of things about this song why I think it's so remarkable. I mean, just what's happening here. The guy, and it's basically his world has just exploded, but everyone else is just going out doing their own thing, right? The world just keeps doing its thing. Literally what's happening is that he basically slept through all day, right? And he wakes up and he saw that he missed the day, right? He slept through the whole day, and he sees the stars. And the idea is that he can tell the world is spinning madly on because he's basically standing still, and he sees the whole universe spinning around him. And that's what it feels like when you've had this, traumatic event. The world's spinning out of control, or, everyone else is just doing their thing, and whereas your world has stopped. So I had an image of someone, it's not just a metaphor. It's literally him looking up the stars and literally seeing the world spin, but also it's metaphorical. It's also metaphorical because basically he's saying that, he said he can't do what he'd do. He can't make the world brand new, take the time for you. He didn't do it, right? Because he got lost. He slept right through the dawn, right? He missed his chance. Maybe it's his fault because he didn't take advantage of when he had her, right? So it's both literal, he slept through the day, and it's using the idea of sleeping through the day as a metaphor for regret, right? For not taking advantage of the time he had with her. It's a very compact song. And what I love about it is, again, woke up, wish that I was dead. That right there puts you someplace, right? Aching in my head, what is he, could it be, is he hungover? I lay motionless in bed. So all these rhymes, dead, head, bed, they just spill out. It's like you wake up and suddenly a call comes back. Woke up, wish that I was dead, aching in my head, motionless in bed. It just spills out. Suddenly you wake up and you realize, oh my, I can't believe it happened, right? And then there should be more. There should be another line, right? It should rhyme with bed, or it should be another thing, thought about you. No, it goes right to the refrain. The voice goes all the way up. I thought of you, and then the melody goes down, 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 where you'd gone, and then it ends back where it started. Let the world spin madly on. The contour of the melody, it's perfect, because here it's just sort of very, very, I think he's speaking. Woke up, wish that I was dead, aching in my head, blah, blah, blah. And then expressive. I thought of you. She's very expressive. And then it just deflates. Where you'd gone. And then he's back where he was. Let the world spin madly on. That right there is just, it's what Mozart does. Okay, I'm not saying Steve and Deb Talon are Deb Talon and Steve Tannen are Mozart, but this is how it works, right? You have a whole story here, but it's not just a poem. The music shows you what the people are thinking all the way, thinking at every moment. So let me just play that again so you can hear what happens. The key here is hearing that this happens too early, right? There should be more, but instead, suddenly it comes whooshing back to you. I thought of you, and then you're back where you started. And again, everything I said I do just got lost and slipped through the dawn. So maybe you can sort of hear it in that sort of dramatic way. And then I've got one more comment.
I woke up and wished that I was dead, with an aching in my head. I lay motionless in bed.
It should repeat here. Then I saw you were not next to me. I was really sad. Oh, what should I do? Right? It should do that, right? But no, it blasts off. So listen.
Woke up and wished that I was dead, with an aching in my head. I lay motionless in bed. I thought of you and where you'd gone. Let the world spin madly on. Everything that I said I'd do, like make the world brand new and take the time for you. I just got lost and slept right through the dawn, and the world spins madly on.
So this song ends, this is by AABA again, by the way, just like Broadway. The last one goes here. And what's wonderful is that in this verse, she's singing the melody that he sings before, and he's singing the harmony. So they actually switch, which actually is interesting. Exactly what happens in the first song we looked at. But also this is just a really nice way of sort of formally bringing the song together. What crushes me in this song is that the last word "on," because he sings the tonic of the melody on the, I don't know what key we're in, but it's basically the tonic. It's center of gravity. But she sings a ninth, which means it's a step above. It's an unresolved song, an unresolved note, and it never resolves. She never goes down. And that basically points the picture of that this world will never stop spinning, right? If she had gone and sung the same tonic note, this would be putting a period on this song. It's not. It makes the song end with a comma, which again illustrates the idea of this world. It just seems like it's, if you've ever had someone's ever left you, you feel like you're never going to get over it. So I'll just play that very end. It's a little tiny musical detail, but it just crushes me every time.
Spins mad, and the world spins mad, and the world spins mad beyond.
You'll forever be on that note instead of going on. So just a little detail, but I just think I wish the song were longer, but if it were any longer, it wouldn't be perfect, I think. So in case you're interested, the songs that I didn't get a chance to talk about, but if you don't know, you should know, you can write them down. Parker Millsap, great contemporary young songwriter. This is a really powerful song about a son asking his father why he doesn't love him because he's gay. It's a really powerful song. My Girl by the Temptations, hard to beat it. If you don't know Damien Rice, this is a really extraordinary song called Canon, one of my favorite songs of all time, which is also very sort of spiritual. I was going to talk about Prince's song Kiss, okay, which there's so much to talk about. I was going to talk about Melissa Etheridge's Come to My Window, which is really a lesbian rock classic, anthem really in the lesbian community. And I was also going to try to get to Eric Church's "Like Jesus Does," which is basically describing how his sort of it's a kind of like Jesus to a child. He's saying that you love me just like Jesus does. So these are, if you don't know any of these songs, they're all interesting in their own way. And if you do listen to them, send me an email or something, because they've all a lot to say. Also, I like this right here. I'm long gone incomprehensible. I mean, isn't that country music? I'm a long gone. You know, so I don't know if he trademarked that, but I think it's great. Anyway, I'm gonna stop here. So I'm back. So look, thank you so much for coming. I don't know if there are any thoughts or questions before we finish.
If there are, people can certainly put them in the chat. I'm watching. We had the Facebook stream dropped off, but we got it back, and I'm watching YouTube. But folks have been pretty quiet, and I think just enjoying the tunes tonight, which is totally all right. There are times when it's just good to sit back and enjoy, and there's a lot here. So thank you. That was really fun.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm glad, you know, to see that there's just so much more that you could explore. I had, you know, several ideas as we were going, and there's so many paths we can go every time we do this. So thank you for pulling those together, for tying the narrative thread so we can enjoy it all.
There's also a lot of country songs about loving your mama. We didn't even get to that. You know, that's a whole other side. So. Anyway. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming. And next week we're doing dance music, right?
That's right. We're moving it up, and it's all going to be fast dance. We're going to do slow dances too.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, we should probably do it last or something. A slow song. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, this is a lot of fun, as I knew it would be. Thank you, Del. It's great. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Yes. Yeah. All right, thanks. All right. Bye.
All right. Take care. Good night.